was in medical school, we were taught that you just got a certain number of brain cells, and if you went out a couple of six-packs and killed off a few thousand, you never get them back. The good news is that all of the mechanisms in our body are so much more dynamic than we had once realized, and especially our brain. And one study showed that you mentioned that just walking for a half an hour a day over a 3-month period caused so much neurogenesis or new growth of brain cells that people's hippocampus, their brain got measurably bigger. And that was thought impossible just 10 or 15 years ago. And the hippocampus is particularly important because, as you say, that's what controls memory. And so a lot of the things that happen as people get older, like, what was that person's name and where did I leave my keys, that we tend to think of as a natural part of getting older, really may be unnatural. And the same kinds of changes, not only exercise, but changes in what we eat, how we respond to stress, exercise, and how much love and support, all seem to have a powerful influence on Alzheimer's disease and other causes of dementia as well.
So we can actually grow more neurons in our brains. We can grow new brain cells.
Grow more neurons in our brain. And even, these mechanisms are so dynamic. There was a film that James Cameron did with Luis Hoyos that will come out in the next few months called Game Changers.
I've seen
and James Cameron is a legendary filmmaker who did, Titanic and Avatar and all these great, Terminator, all these great movies.
Him and his wife are plant-based.
And he and his wife are plant-based, Susie. In fact, I wrote the foreword to Susie's new book. And they became plant-based originally because of their concern. He's an explorer, they're ardent environmentalists, and when he learned that more global warming was caused by eating livestock than all forms of transportation combined, he went on a plant-based vegan diet, and then he began to feel so much better. I visited their studio set last month. He's actually making avatars 2, 3, 4 at the same time. That's how much energy he has. Then it really changed their lives. And so he had decided that he would make this documentary with Luis Hoyos. He did this brilliant documentary called The Cove, which got an Academy Award. His first documentary got an Academy Award. That's how brilliant this guy is. In fact, he's actually filming our Alzheimer's study all the way through, which is great. But the Game Changers is about really elite athletes, because the biggest misconceptions about eating a whole foods plant-based diet are that you're kind of a wimp and you don't get enough protein. And so by having all these elite athletes who raised their game, who became national mixed martial artist champions and heavyweight boxers and Olympic athletes and pro football players and so on, I think will really be a game changer. But there's this one great scene in the movie where, Robert Vogel has done a lot of interesting work showing that even a single meal can reduce blood flow to your brain. And people say, but there's a great scene in there with a urologist named Aaron Spitz, and they have these 3 elite athletes in their mid-20s. And he feeds them first a meat-based meal, and then they have this device that measures the frequency and duration of erections they have at night. Have you seen this? Have you seen this clip?
I've seen the documentary.
You said you saw it, then so you know.
Yeah,
it's great.
It's so good. If the documentary was just that scene, it would do so well.
Well, apparently the film crew became vegan after shooting it. But
I love it.
So basically, what they found was that they give them a meat-based meal, and they measured how frequently, how hard their erections were that night when they slept. And then they gave them a plant-based meal, and it was and by the way, the meat was organic, grass-fed beef, those kinds of things. And then they gave them the plant-based meal, and they repeated the same thing the next night, and they found they had 300 to 500% more frequent erections and 10 to 15% harder from one meal.
Yeah.
Your brain gets more blood, you think more clearly, you have more energy, you need less sleep, you can function better. Your brain, as we've talked about, your brain grows so many new brain cells, your brain gets bigger, your skin gets more blood, so you look 10 or 15, 20 years younger. I'm 96, I look pretty good, I think. Your heart gets more blood, your sexual organs get more blood. So in all the ways that matter most, we're so much more dynamic and you can experience these changes in hours, not years. And so then it becomes an equation like, what I gain is so much more than what I give up. Yeah, I like eating cheeseburgers, but boy, I like having sex even better.
Exactly.
Or gosh, I like not having chest pain anymore. And I can make love with my spouse, and I can walk across the street, and I can go back to work, I can play with my kids, all the things that make life fun and meaningful. Those are choices worth making.